Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating deep dive into a civilization whose name is pretty much synonymous with discipline and warfare, ancient Sparta. Our mission today, and we're using excerpts from What Was Daily Life Like in Ancient Sparta
Yeah.
by Carl Seaver, is to kind of go beyond the legends, to really unpack what everyday existence meant in this, well, unique Greek city-state. We're going to explore how basically every aspect of life, right from the moment of birth, was meticulously designed to create the greatest warriors of the ancient world.
Exactly. And this deep dive, I think, will show a society just so singularly focused on military strength that it shaped, well, everything, every facet of its citizens' lives in ways that were truly unlike anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's a really compelling look at the logical extremes of a state built entirely for war.
Okay, let's unpack this then. From the very first moments, literally, a Spartan's life was unlike anywhere else in the ancient world. I mean, you might think bringing a child into the world is a family thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in Sparta, nope. It was fundamentally a state decision. Our source tells us newborns were swiftly brought before the Gerousia. That's the Council of 30 ruling men.
Right, the elders.
Exactly. Their immediate job was to assess if the child was healthy enough.
Yeah.
Healthy enough to be raised as a, formidable Spartan warrior if it was a boy.
Or if a girl, capable of bearing healthy warriors later on.
And if the Gerousia decided a child was, well, unworthy.
Then that infant was tragically taken and exposed on Mount Taygetos, that's the mountain overlooking Sparta, left to die.
Wow.
And what that process really shows is how deeply ingrained this practice was. Our source calls it a primitive and brutal form of ancient eugenics. But it wasn't just occasional, it was, and I'm quoting here, representative of how Spartan life functioned, right from day one. It just immediately highlights Sparta's relentless core drive to produce warriors. Their whole societal blueprint began literally at birth.
Okay, so if a boy did pass that initial, pretty brutal test, his life then quickly funneled into this rigorous system called the Agoge.
The Agoge.
And this wasn't like an optional after-school club. This was a mandatory state-run training program that shaped every single male Spartan from childhood. From ages 7 to 14, the emphasis was just overwhelmingly on physical training and exercise. They did get some basics, reading and writing.
Some, yeah, but minimal compared to, say, Athens. It wasn't the priority at all.
Not at all. And our source notes that by his teens, a Spartan youth would then advance to eat in communal mess halls with the adult males.
Joining the men.
And his training would take on an even more distinct military edge, sharper focus. And then here's where it gets, well, really interesting, maybe even disturbing. The final stage during their early adult years.
Right.
They were actually sent out into the countryside, away from Sparta itself.
And built isolated.
Yeah, they had to learn to forage off the land, survive without any social support structure, just survive. And chillingly, they were also, as the source says, encouraged to attack some of the helots.
Ah, yes, the helots.
These were the Messenians and other neighboring peoples Sparta had conquered, basically between the 8th and 6th centuries BC. They effectively served as a state-owned slave class.
And that policy, attacking the helots, it sounds absolutely brutal, but there was a cold, strategic logic behind it, wasn't there?
Oh, absolutely. That's where you see the ruthlessness of their system. And it's a critical point our source makes. This wasn't just random cruelty.
Yeah.
It served as a terrifying mechanism for the Spartans to instill constant, perpetual fear in their subject people.
And that was vital, because the helots' labor freed the Spartiates, the full Spartan citizens, entirely from farming, from any kind of manual labor.
Okay.
It allowed them to function solely as a warrior society. So this, extreme act was fundamental to maintaining their whole unique social structure.
So once a Spartan male completed the Agoge, he became a full Spartan warrior. But life didn't exactly get easier, did it?
Not at all. In many ways, it was just a continuation of that intense physical and military focus.
Because the helots were kept under, well, firm control and did all the agricultural work, Spartan males just didn't do traditional labor. Our source vividly describes Sparta itself not really as a typical city, but more like effectively a giant military camp.
That's a great description.
And one of the main jobs for Spartiates, even as adult warriors, was just ensuring the helots remained fearful and compliant,
Yeah.
basically preventing any kind of rebellion.
Constant vigilance.
Yeah. And talk about communal living. Adult Spartans didn't even eat their meals at home.
No private dinners.
No. Instead, meals were shared in these communal mess halls called the syssita,
Right, the common messes.
and these were even presided over by Sparta's two kings, which is another peculiar feature, isn't it? Their constitution had two royal families, the Adids and the Eurypontids.
Each providing a king simultaneously, a dual monarchy. Very unusual.
Yeah, and this dual monarchy ruled alongside that council, the Gerousia, the 28 elders, plus the two kings.
And also 5 senior magistrates known as ephors.
Right, the ephors. This whole complex system, it seems, was designed to ensure some kind of balance of power between these different competing interests.
A system of checks and balances, Spartan style.
Exactly. And beyond the communal dining, beyond the unique political structure, the Spartans also deliberately rejected private property and wealth, completely.
Hmm.
Their currency, it was called pelennor, was made of these large, purposefully damaged iron bars.
Basically useless outside Sparta.
Right. The legendary lawgiver like Kyrgyz, he gets credit for a lot of this stuff. Supposedly ordained this precisely, as our source puts it, to ensure that Spartan warriors never came to covet gold or silver.
So you have all these really unique elements piling up the communal dining. This radical rejection of wealth, the weird dual monarchy.
Mm.
How did this structure actually work day to day? It feels so counterintuitive to how most societies, function.
It really does. It points to an extraordinary, almost, you could say, fanatical dedication to a single ideal, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Every single element, from their weird iron money to where they ate dinner, was engineered to prevent distractions, to maintain that singular focus on military readiness and what they saw as the collective good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the very lack of individual wealth or a significant private life meant fewer personal ambitions could conflict with the state's main goal.
Mm.
The military. It created this remarkably cohesive, though incredibly rigid, society.
Okay, but what about the other half of the population, the women? We focused a lot on the men's training in the Agoge. What was life like for Spartan women? How did they fit into this overarching military purpose?
That's a really crucial part of the whole picture, because while Spartan women weren't in the Agos like the boys, their societal role was just as vital to the military state's survival.
Right.
From a young age, the emphasis for girls was heavily on physical activity, gymnastics, training, not on, the typical domestic skills like weaving or playing instruments that you'd see prioritized in places like Athens.
So physical fitness was key for them, too.
Absolutely. Their training was fundamentally about preparing them to rear the strongest possible Spartan warriors. Strong mothers for strong sons.
And just like the men, society put immense pressure on women to marry.
Oh, huge pressure. Both men and women faced public shame, actual humiliation if they stayed unmarried for too long.
And this wasn't about love or romance, was it?
Not primarily, no. It was pure societal imperative. Think about it. You have a city-state with a relatively low population of actual Spartiates.
Right, the full citizens.
And their entire existence relies on warfare.
Hmm.
So producing healthy children was arguably the single most important function of any Spartan citizen, male or female.
Makes sense.
Their physical prowess, the women's fitness, was aimed squarely at ensuring strong offspring, directly feeding into the warrior class. It's such a stark contrast to the more domestic roles you see for women elsewhere in Greece, really underscores Sparta's unique priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and our source also mentions this interesting detail. Spartan women apparently shaved their hair when they married, though it's a bit unclear if they kept it shaved afterwards. Another unique custom.
Huh. Okay, so pulling it all together, what does this all ultimately mean? All this incredibly rigorous training for both men and women, this unique, almost alien societal structure, it all had one single ultimate goal.
Yeah, pretty much. To create a warrior class out of all Spartan males, that was the point.
And this warrior society wasn't just some abstract ideal. Its daily existence, its history, was a constant demonstration of that military imperative.
Exactly. You see it playing out constantly.
First, as we discussed, the whole function of Spartan society relied entirely on its subject. Neighbors, the Messenians, the helots, knowing deep down that the Spartans could and would crush any rebellion. Fear was the foundation.
Internal control.
Second, by the 6th century BC, Sparta had become the dominant power in a major alliance of Greek city-states, the Peloponnesian League,
Right.
which meant frequent warfare with foreign states, constantly sending detachments of warriors abroad.
Always fighting somewhere.
And this military imperative, it really reached its absolute peak when the Persian Empire tried to conquer Greece in the early 5th century BC.
Ah, the Persian Wars.
Yeah, leading to probably the most famous episode in all of Spartan history, The legendary defense of the pass of Thermopylae in 480 BC. The 300 Spartans facing Xerxes' massive army.
The ultimate stand.
Later on, the main enemy became much closer to home, Athens.
Right, the other major Greek power.
War between Sparta and Athens and their respective allies finally erupted in 431 BC. We know it as the Peloponnesian War.
A long and brutal conflict.
Which Sparta eventually won in 404 BC, making them the foremost political power in the entire Greek world, top dog.
But, and this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. It seems almost ironic that the very success of their warrior state, achieving that dominance, actually led to its undoing. How did that happen? What does it tell us about these kinds of super rigid systems?
It's the real twist, isn't it? Our source indicates that Sparta's decline, its demise, really lay in that very ascendancy, its victory.
How so?
Well, in the decades after the Peloponnesian War, the 390s, the 380s BC, wealth started to flood into Sparta. Spoils of war, tribute from subject states, all consequences of its new hegemonic status across Greece.
Ah, the thing they tried so hard to avoid.
Exactly. And this wealth, according to the source, corrupted its warrior class. They became, quote, indolent. The system built on austerity, on self-denial, just couldn't handle prosperity. It broke down precisely when its foundation, the lack of wealth and constant hardship, was removed.
That makes sense. And there was another problem too, wasn't there?
Yeah, compounding this issue, the number of actual full Spartan warriors, the Spartiates, had dramatically declined. Just decades and decades of perpetual warfare had taken a huge toll on their population.
Fewer and fewer true Spartans left.
Right. So as a result, the Spartans began relying more and more heavily on the helots and other non-citizens to bulk out their armies, which further diluted their core identity and probably their effectiveness.
The rigid system, designed only for constant conflict and control through fear, just couldn't adapt. It couldn't handle peace, prosperity, or the consequences of its own success.
And the fall was swift, relatively speaking.
Yeah, it wasn't long before an alliance of other Greek city-states, led by Thebes, decisively defeated them at the Battle of Leuctra in 371 BC. And just like that, Sparta was reduced to a second-rate power. The dominance was over.
Wow. What an incredible and kind of intense deep dive into ancient Sparta. From the Gerousia deciding a baby's fate on Mount Taygetos, to the brutal Agoge, the communal mess halls, that strange iron currency, and the absolutely crucial, unique role of Spartan women. Every single element of daily life was meticulously crafted for just one purpose: creating the ultimate warrior society.
It truly was.
It's such a powerful reminder, isn't it, how a single-minded societal goal can just shape every tiny aspect of human existence, leading to both unmatched military prowess, like at Thermopylae,
Absolutely.
and ultimately this internal decay, this inability to adapt that led straight to its decline.
And this really brings up a crucial point, something for you listening to maybe ponder. What happens when a society's very success, particularly one built on such a rigid and singular purpose like Sparta's, inadvertently introduces the very conditions for its own unraveling?
That's a great question.
It's a really compelling look at how even the most seemingly successful, tightly controlled systems can be undermined fundamentally by the very things they achieve. Something to chew on long after this deep dive ends.